Victoria slammed her laptop shut, the click loud enough to cut the boardroom chatter. "We move forward," she declared. Pens scratched, phones buzzed, and the room swelled with applause. Samuel Brooks steered a mop bucket at the back, the rubber wheels whispering against the marble. "Hey, Samuel," Victoria called, amused. "Floor looks good. Any investment tips for the rest of us?" Laughter spilled around the table. Sharp, public, ready to bite. Samuel glanced up, calm as a ledger. "Only one, ma'am," he said. "Never laugh at the person who understands value more than wealth." The laughter cracked into louder applause. Victoria, billionaire founder of Hayes Innovations, smiled like someone used to winning. "Noted," she said, voice bright. "I'll remember when I buy my next island." Samuel kept sweeping, his words settling like dust. Weeks later, Victoria signed off on a flashy acquisition, a viral crypto tech company with headlines and clout. The board cheered, investors texted. It felt like destiny. Still, a tiny alarm, Samuel's line, pulled at the edge of her mind. She dismissed it. She had models, teams, algorithms, the machinery that made her billions. Then the market shifted. Rumors flared. Regulator's pullout, discrepancies in the startup's numbers. The valuation that had felt like a crown started to wobble. Stock dipped. Investors drifted. Headlines sharpened teeth. Within days, what looked like triumph felt like a crater. Victoria woke at 3 in the morning to messages that read like verdicts. Executives spoke guardedly. Lawyers sent red lines. Pride, once armor, showed a hairline fracture. Employees who had toasted her name now avoided her in hallways. The building seemed smaller, its glass reflecting a version of her she barely recognized. One evening, rain sheeted the windows and the lobby hummed with a subdued panic. Victoria stood under the light, watching her reflection. Samuel was sweeping nearby. He paused and asked softly, "Rough day, ma'am." She laughed, an empty sound. "You could say that," she admitted. He set the broom down, reached into his jacket, and pulled out a battered notebook. The cover was taped, the pages soft with years of use. He flipped it open and showed her tiny handwriting, dates, purchases, numbers, notes. Buy real earnings, avoid hype, compound interest scribbles, small, stubborn calculations. Between pages, yellowed clippings and a photocopied quote from a value investor peeked out. "You pay attention to what lasts," Samuel said. "Most people buy the moment. They don't buy the business. They buy the story, and stories change." "How do you know?" Victoria asked, sudden and sharp with a pain that had nothing to do with money. Samuel's eyes softened. "I haven't had headlines. I had time. I learned to save, to reinvest, to be boring when the world demanded fireworks." He tapped the notebook. "There's no glamour, ma'am. It's patience and pride chewed into small bites." Victoria sat on the marble bench while Samuel swept, each pass steady. She wanted to know how a man like him saw what she'd missed. "How did you learn this?" she asked. Samuel set the broom down. "I bought small things," he said. "A laundromat, a corner shop. They paid rent. I fixed problems. I reinvested. No fireworks, just patience." "A laundromat?" she repeated, picturing a faded sign. "People laughed," he said, "but those machines kept paying. I saved the receipts, watched margins, and let compound interest do its work." A manager poked his head in. "Miss Hayes, the board wants to reschedule tomorrow's briefing." She nodded, then said, "Why didn't you tell anyone when I asked that day?" "Who would listen?" Samuel replied. "People read titles, not ledgers. You asked. I answered. You laughed. I'm not offended." His calm cut through her stubbornness. "Teach me one practical thing," she said. "Start small." "No margin first," he answered without hesitation. "Know how much a business keeps after expenses. Buy that, not the buzz. Then scale what proves steady." She had always believed complexity hid truth. Here, truth sat in neat columns. She slipped a hand into her pocket and pulled out her phone, automatic, conditioned by habit, but for once didn't call an analyst, didn't text a lawyer, didn't post a statement. She closed the phone like closing a door. It changed her that night. Now. If you're enjoying this story, hit subscribe and like. There's more ahead. Comment below. Would you listen to a janitor's advice in a crisis? Victoria folded her hands and listened to the hum of the empty lobby. She thought of balance sheets and boardroom bravado, then thought of a janitor who kept receipts in a battered notebook. The realization didn't arrive as an epiphany, so much as a slow, stubborn ache. Pride had been her habit. Humility would have to be one of her new ones. The next morning, Victoria called an impromptu meeting. The boardroom filled with faces she'd once barely glanced at. Now there was a line of worry under each eye. She didn't make speeches. She spoke plainly, the words simple and direct. "We stop chasing the headlines," she said. "We retrench. We audit everything. Samuel taught me a line: buy the business, not the story. We start there." A murmur ran through the room. A younger executive, defensive, asked how a janitor's notebook could be more valuable than their models. Victoria looked at him and then at the back door where Samuel often pushed his cart. "Because," she said, "it kept a man fed through decades. Our models are elegant until they aren't." The work that followed was slower, grimmer, and oddly intimate. Victoria sat through late-night calls, pored over ledgers that once skimmed her eye, and walked factory floors she had only seen in quarterly slides. Samuel's advice was methodical. Know your margins, cut leaks, stop pretending growth alone equals health. He refused title, refused to be on stage. He came to one meeting, sat in a corner with a thermos, and answered questions with short sentences that felt like anchors. When investors began asking for a plan, Victoria spoke with a new tone, less flourish, more facts. She acknowledged mistakes and outlined a conservative path forward. Trust, once frayed, rebuilt in the daily, unglamorous grind of steady results. Hushed headlines began to turn softer. Profit centers stabilized. The company did not explode back to billions overnight, but a slow, honest recovery started. It moved the board more than speeches had. Outside the corporate drama, Samuel's life stayed simple. He fixed leaky taps in the building, watered the potted palms, and mended relationships with cleaners who'd been family for years. He kept his notebook in a top drawer of his small kitchen table, next to a faded photo of his late wife and a postcard of the laundromat he'd once owned. When Victoria offered to pay him handsomely for his counsel, he waved her off like a man shooing a fly. "I don't want your charity," he said. "If you must pay, pay it forward. Start a scholarship for kids who want to learn trades. Teach them money, not just resumes." Victoria found herself agreeing. She created a small foundation in Samuel's name, a discreet thing that taught financial literacy and small business fundamentals in the neighborhoods where she'd grown up. Samuel insisted on nothing in the press release. He liked the idea of quiet impact. The board, surprised by the PR, then surprised by the results, began to see her differently. Not the untouchable titan who laughed at a mop, but a leader who could bend without breaking. One morning, months later, Victoria walked into the lobby and the bench where Samuel usually rested was empty. She asked the front desk. The receptionist blinked. "He left last week," she said. "Moved out. Said he had a place upstate." Victoria felt a hollow that wasn't financial. She visited Samuel's apartment and found it neat, almost bare, plants trimmed, a kettle polished, the notebook gone. On the table lay a short folded note written in the same tiny handwriting she'd seen before. She unfolded it with shaking fingers. "You did well," it read. "We all get chances to be kind or cruel with what we have. Keep choosing the right kind. I'm tired and the laundromat has sweaters that need me. Don't let vanity find you again. S." She laughed once, a wet, unexpected sound, then pressed her forehead to the wood of the table. The laugh wasn't for triumph. It was for relief and for regret and for gratitude braided together. She realized she would never repay Samuel by making him rich. He had already been rich in knowledge, in small, steady returns, in dignity. The right repayment was different, to protect what mattered and to teach others the quiet way. Victoria arranged for a small farewell, nothing public. She found Samuel at a dusty counter in a laundromat 3 towns over, moving a basket of clothes with a deliberate, gentle motion. He looked up when she entered, eyebrows lifting like someone who recognized both a stranger and a student. "You didn't need to come," he said. "I wanted to," she replied. "And to say thank you, properly." He shrugged. "You listened. That was enough." They talked like two people at the end of a long season. No boardroom bluster, no mop bucket jokes. Just the small talk that fills human time. Weather, an old song on the radio, the taste of strong coffee. She left him that day with a paper envelope he wouldn't open in public, and he left her with a certainty she hadn't had before. Humility was not a weakness, but a strategy. When Victoria addressed the company later that year, she didn't write a speech about rebounds or lessons. She told one story, simply about a janitor who kept receipts. The room listened. This time, the laughter that followed was different. It had space in it, a memory instead of a weapon. If this story moved you, please like the video, subscribe for more real-life lessons, and drop a comment. Who in your life has given you unexpected wisdom? Your words might change someone else's course. The camera pulled back as Victoria left the stage, not triumphant but steady, and the city shimmered, indifferent and beautiful, under a sky that had seen both arrogance and its undoing. The janitor's notebook remained a quiet testament, small handwriting on yellowed paper that could fit inside a pocket but hold the weight of a life.